Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today we're taking a look at the Petrified fish Beluga, designed by Nashorn. Yeah, this is a review that is long overdue. I know everyone else has already done their reviews on this knife. This knife was in my 2021 Knife of the Year video, the budget category. You can look that up. And I'm finally getting around to the review. I'm filming this review in late January. I'm not sure when it will actually come out, but it's about time we reviewed this knife. So, let's start off with our blade length measurement. We are still in the era of the lost ruler. So, our blade length here is coming in at 3.0. Can you guys see that? That was a measurement we got. Okay. Maybe you guys prefer the calipers over the ruler. I don't know. You can let me know in the comments below. But anyways, definitely a big knife. So let's grab our comparisons. Here is the Rat 1. The Rat 2. So yeah, a big knife. Not necessarily a super long knife, although it is pretty long, but a big girthy knife. Girth over length. Insert penis jokes below. Gosh. I'm sorry guys, let's get our Savides out here. It's been a long day. Alright, so there we go. Let's straighten these out a little bit. Yeah, awesome. Okay. And let's bring out, of course, as always, the PM2 and the bug out. About almost identical in size to the PM2. Pretty dang close. Length-wise, at least. And let's compare against some of the other knives that came out, or some of the other knives that I put in the 2021 Budget Knife of the Year video. Here is the Kubi KU322. Very similarly sized. And here is the Dam Designs Cerberus. Know something similar with all these knives? Yeah, they're all about the same size. So that tells you a lot about what I like to carry. Alright, so what are we looking at here in terms of materials? This knife is available in a plethora of different options. And they're even coming out with a mini version of this knife now, which is really cool. But we're looking at a blade of K110 steel. I hear some people call it fancy D2, upgraded D2. From my experience, it's basically just D2. But D2 is not a bad steel. Flat grind. We have micarta scales on this version, steel liners, steel clip. There we go. Let's go and do some cutting, shall we? Alright, so Petrified fish Beluga. Let's get into it. So, first of all, let's talk about that action. Very, very smooth. You have a front flipper. I will say the front flipper is my least favorite way to deploy this knife. The fuller, you can reverse flick, and you can thumb flick it out too. So, really good action. No complaints there. Very, very fall shutty. So that's awesome. Front flipper, again, not my favorite, but it does work. Okay, how does it carry? The pocket clip is reversible, which is awesome. Completely deep carry. Goes in and comes out perfectly, no problems. Goes all the way down, or all the way up to the end of the clip. I really like how they kept the screws completely out of the way by having them sunk down in the scale. That's really smart, so I like that a whole lot. All right. How are the ergos? This knife is tall and fat, which means fantastic ergos. This knife is such a great work knife because you get such a good hand-filling grip. It's very comfortable. It just allows you to get a lot of power into your cuts. And speaking about getting power into our cuts, let's cut up some of this cardboard box, shall we? So we'll start over here. If you guys can keep this in frame. What? Go this way. The blade, I forgot to say, but the blade is a flat grind of K110 steel, so basically D2. Jeez, I have not been cutting good today. I'm also filming the Kubi 322 cutting today, and I have not been able to stay in my cuts. Maybe it's the cardboard. It's pretty slicey. It'll work. Let's do a little bit of a rope cut. Very nice. Very, very nice. Let's go on. Let's get down here. Let's do a couple of pushes. Okay. 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 Not too bad for this test, honestly. This is pretty tough stuff. That didn't do horribly. I bet it'll do good like this. Yeah, that edge geometry is really nice for getting those thin lifesavers. Okay, let's go back to the table. Alright, so what am I liking and not liking about this very interesting knife? I love the way this knife looks. This looks fantastic. I think that this knife really resembles a like a bushcraft fixed blade. For me, it just gives off those type of vibes with this wide drop point and the big girthy handle. It reminds me of a fixed blade bushcrafting knife, and I think that's excellent. This knife looks very different from any other folding knife out there, and I definitely appreciate that a whole lot. That's really, really cool. Next thing, well, let's talk about the action. That's what everyone's here for. It's a very good action. Yeah. As you can see there, we have multiple means of deployment. There is absolutely no blade play. That does come at the cost of the centering, which is off a little bit. We'll talk about that later, but no blade play at all. The fuller works great. The front flipper does work good. However, the front flipper is my least favorite way to deploy this knife. I much prefer the fuller. Yeah. Or the fuller thumb flick. This is probably one of the easiest knives to thumb flick off of fuller, for me at least. Usually I'm not that good at that. Heck, even one of my favorite knives ever, the Kershaw Highball, it took me a long time to learn how to do the thumb flick. And this is a much deeper, sharper fuller. And I have it down now, but it took me a lot of practice. This one, pulled out of the box, I flicked that fuller. Fantastic action. And that even works with gloves on. This knife works surprisingly well while you're wearing gloves. I can actually thumb flick this knife off the fuller with gloves on, which is absolutely bonkers to me. That's absolutely nuts. So there we go. The action is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Next thing, I like the pocket clip a lot. So the clip looks pretty plain, but it's a good clip. You can see here they have this flat shelf, which means the knife is open. Yeah, you don't really feel it in your hand. And it is a reversible clip. And the way they've done it is really interesting. So you can see here there's the screws holding the clip in. So you unscrew those. It kind of reminds me of the QSP Penguin. Slide the clip out, put it on the other side, screw them in. You see the clip screws are button screws. Wah, 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 right? Except no, because they sink all the way into the scale, which means that there's nothing in the way of your pant material coming up to the back of the clip. That is phenomenal. That's how you do a pocket clip. I complain all the time about knives that have a deep carry clip, but they're using button screws. I've had people tell me, oh, well, from a manufacturing perspective, it's easier to, if you're going to have button screws all around on your knife, just have button screws on clip too. It brings the cost down. Which, okay, I understand, but one, just use flat screws all the way around on the knife. Or two, you can do this. This is a great way to have button screws not affect the performance of this knife and pocket in any way at all. That's absolutely phenomenal. I love that. Great clip. It's got good tension, goes in and out of the pocket very well. Mwah. Love it. Next thing, you have a lanyard post in the back spacer. That is really, really cool. Again, it's out of the way, but if you want one, there it is, and they do give you quite a bit of room in there. Yeah, they give you quite a bit of room in there for whatever material your lanyard is. That's awesome. Really, really cool. Next thing, the performance on this knife. The ergos are just to die for. They really are. This is so comfortable. The micarta scales are contoured beautifully. The knife is tall, it's fat, and yeah, some people might complain about that in the pocket. Whatever. In the hand, in the hand, this is a beast. This is an absolute beast. And pair that with a very well done blade. This is a great blade shape, and it is very nice and slicey. Maybe not the sliciest thing ever, and I know in my cutting footage that I took, it looked terrible. That was me that day. That wasn't the knife. I didn't look terrible. It still looked good, but this knife does cut very, very well. It's a good knife, especially when you have such nice ergos. Ergos really affect the cutting performance of a knife, because if it hurts to bear down on your knife, you can't do heavy push cuts. But if the knife is comfortable, that means that you can get a lot of power behind that blade and do any kind of cut that you need. And I just find that to be really, really cool. So this is a fantastic, fantastic knife. You get right up close to the edge since you don't have to worry about a flipper or anything. There's no choil, but I don't really think there needs to be one. As you can see here, I'm right on that edge. Just fantastic ergos, great blade. The performance is definitely there on this guy. You get performance. Access to the lock bar is very good. Boop. They give you enough of a cutout. Disengagement is very, very nice. Next thing I like, this knife is a zoo in your pocket. So here's the logo for Nashorn Designs. It's a rhino, so there we have a rhino. The brand is the Petrified fish, so there we have fish. And the knife itself is the Beluga, so there we have a Beluga. I couldn't decide for this review whether I wanted a model of a rhino, a beluga, or an extinct fish here, and obviously I went with the fish, this nice Dunkleosteus. But yeah, it's a zoo in your pocket. I think that's fantastic. That's the way to go. But yeah, there's everything I like. Just a very, very user-friendly knife, very unique knife, good looking. Yeah, and I can bring up the fact that there's a bunch of different versions of this knife again, because there are, and you'll be able to find one that suits your fancy. G10, micarta, all kinds of stuff. Really, really nice knife. So, what are my complaints? This knife, again, as I already mentioned, was on my budget knife of 2021 video. And I think it placed in fifth or sixth. And it would have been a lot higher if not for some of the things I'm going to talk about right now. So, number one, Detent Lash. This knife has significant detent lash. I mean, look at this. Not a big fan of that. You can feel it when you're doing the front flipper especially, and the thumb flick. With the reverse flick, it's a little less noticeable, but yeah. When you just shake the knife, it rattles. I don't like that. It gives the knife kind of a feeling of cheapness to me. But yeah, so detent lash, not great. The other thing, the centering, I have taken this knife apart several times and put it back together and tinkered with it and messed with it. And I could not get the centering perfect. The centering was perfect when it came to me out of the box, but it had a lot of blade play. When the knife was open, there was just a lot of blade play. And now, it's locked up like a rock. Rock solid lockup, but, you know, and good action. But yeah, the centering is definitely off. This is the best I could get it. That's a negative. Next thing, I wish this jimping here, this is very good jimping, but I wish it came out further because, like, it works when I'm right here, kind of. Mostly, though, right here, I'm just kind of on the scales. But I want to put my thumb out here. I'm just kind of slippery. I wish there's jimping all the way out there. That's something I complain about with a lot of knives, is I think jimping, in a lot of cases, isn't done very well on pocket knives. It's not always where you actually need it. And so, such is the case with this knife as well. You know, whatever. And the next thing is, as I was using this knife, I did develop some lock stick. As you can see here, our lockup is pretty early. And there's no lock stick now, but about, I don't know, I want to say, about after 2 weeks of having this knife, it developed horrible lock stick. In fact, I think there might have even been some lock stick left over when I filmed the Budget Knife of the Year video. I'll have to go back and check, but horrible lock stick. Like, I had to pry the lock over sometimes. Terrible. And it has broken in since then. Until now, there's basically no lock stick except every once in a while. After I've been like using the knife, I take this out and I bear down to some cardboard, I do some cuts, I might have a little bit of lock stick. Just fidgeting with it, not really, but it's definitely an issue that I want to bring up. And other than that, there's really nothing else. So let's go ahead and go into my final conclusions. My final conclusions are that this is a knife that 100% deserved to show up on my Knife of the Year list. Even though the detent lash and the centering problem and the lock stick kept it from being higher on the list, it's a great knife. I love this knife so much. And I need to get one of the blue micarta ones. I'll probably get one of the mini ones. This is a great knife. Fantastic ergos. Great performing blade. This is a knife that I was absolutely happy with my purchase. Let's talk about the price. When I got this one, I bought this one for $35. And I think that must have been a sale or something, because after I got it and I looked back on Amazon, I saw that the G10 versions were $35 and micarta ones were like $48.95 or something. But either way, I think you're definitely getting what you pay for, plus a little more. Great value here. Absolutely great value. You know, that's something that I feel like is becoming harder and harder to find nowadays. And not just because of inflation and stuff like that. We're not going to go into all of that. But you see companies like Civivi. They're constantly hiking their price without really giving you much in return. Brands like Petrified Fish are keeping it cheap. They're keeping it budget. And they're giving you exactly what you want in a budget knife. This is a knife that will serve you for a good long period of time. And I don't know. I can recommend this knife 100%. I think they're all sold out on Amazon right now at the time of recording. But when they get back, absolutely pick one up. I'm going to get one of the minis and see how they compare. I don't know if I like the mini as much as the full-size one just because of the ergos, but I haven't handled it, so we'll have to see. For now, the Petrified. redo. The Petrified fish, Beluga, is a fantastic knife that gets my seal of approval. And that's going to be it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, leave it a like, comment below, and subscribe. At the time of recording this, I'm at like 430 subscribers. When we get to 500, there will be a giveaway. So I'm bribing you guys. And yeah, if you don't like the video, leave me a comment telling me why. And I've been Gideon. I'll see you in the next one.